Well, for the next 30 minutes, we are talking all about gardening. Maybe you are harvesting the cucumbers and tomatoes now, but what should you be planting this fall season and what do you want to see in the coming spring? Ben Grandin with the NC Cooperative Extension is answering all of your gardening questions today, and all you have to do is text them to 336-379-5775, and we will try to get them answered here live on air. Ben, let's start here. What type of things should we be looking to plant this season as we head into winter?
So as winter's coming, we're really looking at our cool crops. A lot of cabbages are really entering the tail end of when we can plant them, but we can definitely still plant garlic, onions, other things like that, even kales. So a lot of the cool crops that don't mind a lot of the winter conditions are still fine to put in the ground. You definitely want to start those from some sort of transplant versus putting seeds in the ground. Garlic, you're putting the individual bulbs in the ground, and onions, you'd be starting from either seed or from small plant. So definitely any of those root crops, or it's a perfect time of the year to get them in. Give them a little bit of time before we get that first frost.
Can you kind of talk more about the transplant idea of it as well too? What that looks
A
like?
lot of times, what we'll do to give those plants a little bit of a head start, we'll start those in small containers. You can either purchase those from the local farmers market or the local garden centers, already started up, or if you have time, you can start them yourself. And basically, we're just letting that plant develop a little bit in an ideal condition. That way, when we put it in the ground, it's ready to roll and it really gets the best foot forward.
Absolutely. How will the change of season affect our lawns?
So lawns really, most of our lawns are tall fescue around here, so they're cool season grasses. They really do like these cool conditions. That's why this time of year is a great time to go ahead and put new seed down, aerate the lawn, get that fertilization right so that the grass is really ready for the winter. The grass will naturally go dormant in about a month or two with those cold conditions, but getting it sprouted up now really gives it the best start to be ready for spring. Those cool conditions can burn up the grass a little bit. That's why we like to get the grass started and healthy, properly watered, but not too wet, not too dry. But
Yeah.
overall, the conditions really aren't that bad for the grass to be here in Guilford County.
Okay. And what are some ways to make sure the soil is ready for planting? You were talking about that a little bit.
Mhm. Definitely getting a soil test. The soil is the black box of the world. We don't really know what's inside the soil until we're able to take a small amount of soil off, send it off to the lab at NC State, and then have them let us know what nutrients are available to plants in the available forms. And then we can amend those soils to match those requirements, giving those plants the best start.
Sure. What are some materials that can be added to improve soil conditions?
It really depends on what kind of soil you're talking about. My biggest thing is lime. Lime is calcium carbonate. We put that on the ground to adjust the pH of the soil, which is the relative acidity of the soil. By putting lime on the ground, we can raise that acidity or raise the pH, lowering the acidity, and that way the plants have access to those nutrients. So really getting a good soil test, knowing what the pH is, and getting the recommendation for the lime is really critical. Adding that into the soil will really help that soil release those nutrients to the plants.
How do you go about a soil test? What does that look like?
The soil test is really easy. So you come by our office, 3309 Burlington Road here in Greensboro. You pick up a box and a form. You go out, you take a shovel, you get a small little core, a sample out of the earth. You put it in the box, you ship it over USPS to Raleigh, and it is free to get samples done before Thanksgiving. At Thanksgiving to, I believe, March, it's $4 a sample, which is still a really good deal considering that you're going to be saving a lot of money on reduced fertilizer applications and healthier lawn overall.
All right, nice response there. We're getting some questions in here now, so let's go ahead and start
Mhm.
with one. What advice
Perfect.
would you give to someone looking to start a garden?
I would say definitely find the right spot for that garden. We really, for most of our vegetables, especially the summertime vegetables, we like to have a lot of full sun. So at least 8 hours of direct sunlight in that location. And that way you're giving the plants the conditions that they really need to be the most productive. While plants can produce in more shady conditions, certain plants are going to enjoy a more sunny condition. So knowing how the sun hits the property, and then going from there. But proper planning is really important for getting that location right.
Very nice. And let's talk about protecting your plants, especially when it comes to different seasons or, rain or frost. What does that look like?
So a lot of times we can employ a nice frost blanket over some of our more sensitive plants, younger plants, things like lettuce that might not have fully hardened before those first frosts. A lot of the things out there, if they're used to the frost, they'll be able to take it. But it's really that young, tender growth that if we can put a light frost blanket, it's a light cotton blanket available in your local garden centers.
Very nice, very nice. Well, we will take a pause right here. And remember, we are talking all about gardening and we can answer all of your questions. All you have to do is text that number at the bottom of your right-hand screen. We'll be right back.